The Penn Biden Center is now responding to a letter from Republican House Oversight Chairman James Comer demanding information related to the classified documents found there and first reported by CBS News last week. A University of Pennsylvania spokesman said the think tank has never solicited or received foreign donations. The chair of the panel, Kentucky Republican James Comer, had requested more information related to foreign interactions with the Penn Biden Center. He has also asked for visitor logs at the center. And today, White House Press Secretary Karine Jean-Pierre had this to say about the controversy.
Anything that you want to ask of us about this legal matter, I would refer you to the White House counsel office. I'm going to leave it there. I'm not going to go into further.
For more on this, two busy reporters, Weijia Jiang and Scott MacFarlane, join us now. Weijia is a CBS News senior White House correspondent, and Scott is a CBS News congressional correspondent. Thank you both for being here. We appreciate it on a busy day. Weijia, any news from the White House about where this all goes from here?
It's great to see you both. And I actually just stepped out of that briefing a short time ago. And the short answer is no, Robert. In fact, the strategy for dealing with the fallout is becoming increasingly clear, at least from the point of view from the White House press secretary, Karine Jean-Pierre, who is now deflecting all questions and referring all questions to the Department of Justice and the Office of the White House Counsel, even if the questions do not have to do with the investigation. As an example, today I asked how the discovery of these documents may have prompted a review of how staffers handle classified information and how they are ultimately turned over to National Archives during the transition. I asked if President Biden is satisfied with the current SOP. I asked, whether there would be any changes to prevent this from happening in the future. Even those questions, she referred us to the Department of Justice. And I think it's becoming increasingly clear also the frustration as people are trying to get some clarity because they really haven't answered some of the underlying facts about what has happened here. And so, this is obviously going to continue. The special counsel's investigation has not even kicked off in earnest. And so if this is the strategy, we'll see how long it can last.
Scott, questions continue to mount from House Republicans. What's your reporting, your latest read on the new chairman of the Oversight Committee and where he wants to take his investigation?
This whole documents controversy is an enormous Thanksgiving pie, and many different committees in Congress want a piece of that pie and want a slice of it and want a rather large slice of it. The House Oversight Committee had made clear it was going to be the lead committee investigating Hunter Biden and the Biden family. They now will try to take lead on this documents issue, but there may be some competition from the House Armed Services Committee, which is concerned that some military secrets or information have been exposed. And with the House Intelligence Committee, which is quite certain it has an interest in this because some intelligence secrets might have been exposed. They're both going to want a piece of this. And certainly some of the other frontline House members who crave the attention of the spotlight will seek to have their voices heard on this. That could include the House Judiciary Committee. So you're looking at a classic Washington turf war. This is just what a new Congress has not quite settled out, where the lines of demarcation are.
Weijia, inside the White House, what is it like? They have an agenda on policy, the State of the Union coming up next month, but now they are facing a barrage of questions on this front. How has that affected the mindset of those you talk to inside the West Wing as they approach the rest of this year?
Well, White House officials insist that American people don't care about the discovery of these documents nearly as much as they care about inflation, about prices coming down, about the things that this administration has put into place to try to help people pay their bills. And so, they say that they are just charging forward, almost like there's nothing to see here. And so we don't know yet if that's true. We don't know the political ramifications of all of this because there are still so many unanswered questions. For example, what's in those documents and who took them out of the grounds here and what the intention was. So because the special Counsel investigation is far from being wrapped up. At least we don't know of any timeline. It's too early, in my opinion, to say whether the American public cares or not. But that certainly is what sources here at the White House are saying. So they are just trying to turn the page. And that's why you see so much focus on the president's agenda, on his travel. He's going to California tomorrow to look at the damage from all that coastal flooding. He's still taking calls, having meetings, going on trips with foreign leaders. And so I think they're just trying to move along as they normally would. But at some point, as you mentioned, these questions that continue to mount, have to be answered.
And one other question, Scott, in Washington is the looming debt limit deadline. Earlier today, I spoke with Congressman James Clyburn. He predicted it might take Democrats working with a group of Republicans to get a clean debt limit extension at some point. What's your reporting on where the debt limit now stands?
Not sure where the votes come from if they're not coming from Democrats to get this past the finish line in the U.S. House. Again, 4 or 5 votes defecting can kill anything in this House Republican majority. And there are more than 4 or 5 House Republicans, some of whom were part of that group that blocked Kevin McCarthy from the speakership at first, who've been unequivocal that they don't support raising the debt ceiling unless there are concessions made. And you have a White House that says there will be no negotiating and that there should be no negotiating. So the trajectory of avoiding a default and a disaster seems to go through some unique, new coalition of Republican and Democratic votes in the U.S. House. The challenge there is that the last time this came up, when it was Democrats' responsibility to raise the debt ceiling in the House, they got a sum total of 0 Republican votes. So how enthusiastic are they going to be about sharing their votes when it's the turn of the Republicans? But one other thing jumps out at me as I listen to what Weijia says and read some of your reporting, is that nobody's on message right now. The Biden administration comes out of the holidays, starting a new year, and they're being peppered with questions about documents. The House Republicans take over. They have a whole slew of message bills they want to pass on abortion, on the radicalization of the federal administration. And instead, they're talking about George Santos and recovering from an unprecedented House Speaker near disaster.
Which committees has Santos landed on?
The House Small Business Committee and the House Science, Space, and Technology Committees, which I had to remember the names of because they're so low ranking.
What about
they're so low priority.
Marjorie Taylor Greene and Congressman Paul Gosar, 2 controversial House Republicans? Where have they landed on committees?
There's Marjorie Taylor Greene on the House Oversight Committee, which has this almost limitless portfolio. Its breadth is the entirety of the federal government. It's a uniquely effective place for somebody who likes to make a lot of noise and likes to question what the government's doing. Not a big legislating committee. She may not be a pivotal legislator, but she certainly can be a critic and an investigator on that panel.
That oversight panel will be in the spotlight with Chairman Comer and others on that committee leading the charge for House Republicans. Weijia Jiang and Scott MacFarlane, thank you so much.